Yo, what's good? It's Mastermind MMA, and I'm going to be recapping Mayweather McGregor, giving my thoughts on it, what I think about it, aftermath, what I think is next for McGregor and parties involved and all that. But first off, I got to get some things off rip. Man, first of all, shout out to the All-American Chris Weidman. Now, as some of you guys know, I watched the fight with Chris on Saturday. I got to meet him. And to be honest with you, bro, like, he was one of my favorite fighters before. But just after meeting him and chopping it up with him for a little bit, I mean, he's just such a nice guy, man. Like, the Chris you see in the media and the person that talks to, you know, in the interviews and how you see him, that's really how he is. And, you know, when I was talking to him, he seemed really genuine and just really nice. You know, he didn't have to be as nice as he was. And, you know, he's just a chill ass guy, man. You know, he seems like a good overall family guy. Just a nice guy. I mean, I know I said it a bunch of times, but, you know, there's really no ego to him. There's no like, oh, I'm a tough guy, or I'm a former UFC champion and you're all gonna I'm better than all you. There's none of that attitude, you know. He's really real and he was just really down to earth, and he was the motherfucking man. He was chill as shit, and, you know, he came through. He was just cool, man. Like, I enjoyed that moment and just talking to him for a bit. And I told him, I was like, yo, tell Ray Longo and Matt Serra I said what's up. And he's like, I will. And, you know, he's just the motherfucking man. So definitely, I mean, I've always been rooting for Chris, but I mean, I'm gonna be, you know, rooting harder for him because I have more of a reason to now. And yeah, so shout out to Chris Weidman. It was dope that he came through, and I gotta watch, make this event even that much bigger because I've been a fan of Chris for a long time. So, getting that out the way quick. I'm gonna have calls I'm gonna be doing with El Chapo from Ireland. Shout out to the homie El Chapo. I've done a few calls with him before. Go check that out. And then I'm going to have a call with Grand 3K. Shout out to you. This is going to be my first call with him. We're going to be setting that up soon, so look out for that. And also shout out to Grand 3K. He's the first person to get some shirts and designs, so definitely gigantic shout out to you, my brother. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the support. And then after that, I'm going to have a call with California's own, Scrap Pack's own, the Triple G of MMA, the homie Jamari. So yeah, I got a bunch of stuff with Jamari. You should go check that out. And I'm going to have a recap with 3 different recaps and talks with all those homies. So be on the lookout for that. And shout out the Left Coast. And shout out Ireland and all that stuff. So, I'm just going to get right into it, man. Full disclosure, I only watched the fight live so far. So, what I'm speaking and when I'm speaking on it is literally just from watching it live on fight night. I didn't get a chance to go back and watch the whole thing in its entirety again. I watched a few rounds over again after that, but I didn't get to do my second non-live watch on it. So just full disclosure, because, you know, when I watch fights live and when I watch it the second time, I see 2 completely different fights. So these are my thoughts post live fight watching. I don't even know if I put that in order, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah. Oh fuck, man, where do I start? That was that Conor McGregor. Yeah, so, I mean, we know Floyd Mayweather beat Conor McGregor. He finished him in the 10th round, TKO 10th round. And I have to say that fight went the way everybody needed it to go. And when I say everybody, I mean every party involved in this. Because Floyd needed this. Conor didn't lose any stock in this. He gained stock. UFC needed this. MMA needed this. Boxing needed this. The last big boxing event to me was Joshua Klitschko. And that came all the way through. Joshua Klitschko, in my opinion, is... Fuck, man. It's one of the greatest heavyweight boxing fights in history, in my opinion, to be quite honest with you. And Anthony Joshua is one of my favorite boxers, so shout out to him. And yeah, that fight came through, but it didn't have... I mean, the pay-per-view buys did well. The gate did well. This is Joshua Klitschko. But it didn't have that fucking fight of the century feel to it. You know what I mean? It was the two greats. It was Klitschko, who is the most dominant champion. You know, besides that last Fury fight, he was running the heavyweight division. And now you have Anthony Joshua, who I've been watching for a long time now, way before he was on anyone's radar. And you know, now he's like the new face of the heavyweight division. So that was the clash of the Titans. But that didn't get like the talk and exposure that it should have. And that's boxing. And boxing is way more established because it's been around for so long. So the media knows how to really run with it. You know what I mean? But when it comes to Floyd fights, man, he has a way of captivating everyone when it comes to big fights. Because no one gave a fuck about that Berto fight after the Pacquiao fight. But people gave a whole bunch of fucks about the Pacquiao fight. And then they were disappointed. But this saved Floyd's legacy. Straight up. Because no one's going to remember the Pacquiao fight. They're going to be talking about this fight. Because it came through. And it had the eyes of everyone, man. Every single person who doesn't even know what... Like Skip Bayless, dude. Skip Bayless, they had Sugar Ray Leonard on. And then Sugar Ray Leonard was talking to, what's his face, Shannon Sharp about something. And then Shannon Sharp was like, oh yeah, that guy throws the right hand so clean, he throws it like a jab. And then fucking Skip Bayless is like, what's a jab? And you should have seen the way Sugar Ray was looking at him like, are you serious? Am I talking to this guy about boxing? That's who it captivated, man. It had the attention of people who don't even know what a jab is. Now, for us, for the fight fans, this is something that, like, I don't know about you, but it felt kind of special to me because it's like people care about what we usually care about. Because I know if you're on my channel, you're a hardcore MMA fan. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? So, you guys really give a shit about MMA because... You really enjoy talking about it. And even everyone, all my listeners, all my subscribers, you can tell they're educated fight fans. They know what they're talking about. And there's a lot of fighters here on the channel too. Shout out to Jamari, MMA from the Heartland. You know, a whole bunch of people. They're actual fighters too. So, you know, we really give a shit about it. And now it's like the world kind of gave a little bit of a shit about what we give a shit about. And I know I could have worded that more eloquently, but you get what I'm saying. Our thing was at the world stage. Everyone was talking about it. And it fucking came through. Now, I know I've been saying a lot without really saying much so far. So now here it comes. Here comes just the full shit. Conor came out strong. He came out... Now there's two ways you can look at it. People are saying, oh, Conor was winning those rounds. And there's the people that are saying Floyd let him win those rounds. Both have valid arguments. But you can't take... Although Floyd was taking it easy and letting Conor really come on strong, you can't take it away from Conor because Conor was actually landing shots. That uppercut he landed was pretty clean. You know what I mean? I think that dazed Floyd a little bit. I don't know if it dazed him, and I'm not going to go as that far. But I'm going to say he felt that. That caught his attention. You could see it in his eyes, that shit caught his attention. And the thing is, although that was a fairly clean punch, that didn't land wholly flush. It hit Floyd's chest a little bit, then came up. So a little bit of power came out from that. If that shit was flush, man, that really could have been it right then. But it hit the chest a little bit and still landed very clean. And then, I think Conor won up to like the third or fourth round, and then Mayweather took over. The eighth round is arguable, and then ninth he was getting beat down, 10th he was getting beat down. Now, I thought when I saw Floyd in those first rounds, it's the usual Floyd fight. He takes a few rounds off to figure out his opponent, which he eventually did. And then we saw a very aggressive Floyd walking Conor down. Being aggressive. Being so aggressive, he was open to a lot of counter shots. But he didn't get hit that much in the counters, and he was lighting Conor up in the end, man. And when I said what Conor needs to do, I did a video before saying what he needs to do to kind of improve his chances for victory. One thing I said, man, I don't know how he gets away with it, because either sport, MMA or boxing, you really can't get away with this shit. And I'm like, Conor is one of those people that for now, he's getting away without moving his head. He keeps his head on the center line constantly. Constantly, man. Even if he moves out, it really comes right back to center line so quick. Like, that recoil to center line is very fast. And when you're dealing with boxers, I mean, that's their bread and butter, man. That's almost like a double end bag work Floyd was doing. Because that was Conor's range of movement in the end. I'm talking about in the end. Keep in mind, I'm talking about when Conor was getting lit up. I'm not talking about beforehand. Although beforehand, his head movement wasn't great, but he didn't have to pay that big of a price of it because he had energy. And he could put on pressure to kind of back Floyd up a little bit. Something I want to address quick is in the post-fight press conference, Conor was talking about fatigue. And I wasn't hurt, I was fatigued. And in that 9th and 10th round, that looked mighty similar. That looked very, very similar to when Nate Diaz was lighting Conor up. And especially in the first fight right before he finished Conor. But even in the second fight, when Nate was pouring it on, Conor gets very tired. He gasses out, and then like his legs start to, he loses his legs from under him. But, I mean, I might get flack for saying this, but I'm not going to accept fatigue as an excuse for a loss. And although he was fatigued, dude, Floyd was landing some shots. Floyd was fucking hitting him with some slobber knockers. Floyd was getting power in his punches. Because punching in boxing and punching in MMA is very different in the sense of getting your weight behind it. The way you plant your feet in boxing isn't necessarily the same way you'll just plant your feet to just fucking sit down on your punches and knock someone out in MMA. It's all about the way you transfer your weight. And, in MMA, you could kind of get away with overextending yourself a little bit more. And having that kind of, getting that little extra oomph in your punches when you pivot your shoulders. But in boxing, you can't really, really overextend yourself that much. And I'm not saying Conor was overextending himself. That's just, some differences. Now, the way Conor was coming in, he was doing good. But the sparring footage that they let out, that Dana White let out, was very, very telling because Conor was fighting very just dirty. And not like he was a dirty fighter, but there was a lot of rabbit punching, a lot of hitting in the back of the head, a lot of just unnecessary times he took the back. And there's really not taking the back in boxing because, there's no point. Why would you take someone's back if you can't hold that position and rain down shots, which you can't? So, hold on, my bad. I'm getting a call. Yeah, I'm back, guys. My bad. I was taking a phone call, but it's been like probably an hour or something since I said, hold on, I'm getting a call. But it seems like no time since I cut it. But yeah, back to what I was saying. So he looked like the sparring footage was very telling. You know what I mean? A lot of the dirty, for lack of better terms, stuff he was doing, he was actually doing in the fight. And the ref was really lenient because I thought, like, after the second time, I thought he should have taken a point. And he kept having to warn him and stuff. But the thing is, man, like, at this big of a fight, you don't want to be the reason for someone, for the end of the fight being different because of your call. You know what I mean? Like, if it went 12 rounds and if it was close, and if McGregor was winning, but then because of that point, Floyd won. So that's a whole big controversy. Because it's like, you know what I mean? The ref changed the outcome, and then that's when the ref becomes a giant variable. And we have these things where we see refs being variables, but in this one, it turned out that, the ref was being more on the side of, I'm gonna let you know you can't do that, but I'm not gonna affect the outcome of the fight, or I'm not gonna play with the scoring at all. So I could respect Robert Byrd for doing that, and the stoppage. And like, excuse me a little bit because, I was like on a whole stream of thought, and then that call kind of interrupted, so I got to regather my thoughts. Do I think the stoppage was early? Oh, you know what? Here's what I was saying. With Conor and his fatigue, and him talking about fatigue. Yeah, you were tired. Yeah, your legs were losing. You were losing your legs from under you because you were tired. But conditioning is part of a fight. You know what I mean? That's like saying, that's like Jose Aldo being like, if I didn't get caught with that shot, I would have won that fight. Obviously, dude, but that's a variable in the fight. That's a big variable in the fight. If you know what I mean, like, you can't make excuses like that. Although it is a valid reason, you can't be like, I was fatigued, and then I usually get patches of fatigue, and then I get my second wind and all that. And although you may get a second wind, there's no guarantee in that. And you can't demand that, especially when you're getting lit up like that. You have to defend intelligently and be offensive. You know what I mean? And the thing is, bro, like, it wasn't just that Conor wasn't throwing punches. He was getting lit up. Floyd was working him. So at that point, it's like, dude, you're from, and it was from the 9th round. You know what I mean? If the ref didn't stop it when he did, Conor would have went out on his back on the canvas, either during that round or shortly after that flurry before it was stopped, or most likely in the next round. But the thing is, the ref was doing Conor a favor because he's just saving Conor from brain trauma. Because what's the point in just unnecessarily getting knocked out? You know what I mean? And then your chin gets affected. And then what if what if that affects his chin in MMA? I mean, obviously, if you're getting your chin rocked and you're getting knocked out, that's going to affect your chin. Not only is it going to affect your chin, regardless of any sport, boxing or MMA, it's going to affect it. So why would he let you go out on your back, take unnecessary brain trauma, and then possibly lose your chin, which essentially could be losing his stardom? Because, I mean, if he gets slept in MMA, we don't know how he could come back from that, because he came back from Nate Diaz. He got submitted. He made the proper adjustments, and it wasn't that bad of a loss because he didn't get slept. If he got slept, would he have even gotten the rematch? That's a question. Something I do want to say, though, is Conor, if there was a rematch with the Floyd fight, I could see Conor making the proper adjustments and making it to a point where he could possibly win. Because if there's one thing we saw from both Nate Diaz fights, is that Conor can make adjustments and gain fight IQ, and then create a game plan based on those adjustments and then stick to it. Because what he did in the Nate Diaz fight was make the adjustments and stick to it. And although, it was like, all right, I blew my load early in the first fight. Now the second fight, I'm going to fight smart. I'm going to chop at that leg. I'm going to chop at that leg. I'm going to conserve energy when I need to. When I'm getting hit in the corner, I'm going to try and bounce the shots off my shoulders. I'm going to try and bounce the shots off my shoulders. I'm not going to, panic. And I'm going to stay more composed. He made all those adjustments and he applied all those adjustments. And he made a game plan. And regardless of how you scored that card, it's a vast difference, because in the first fight, he didn't make it out the second. And the second fight, he took it the distance. So I do see, with the success McGregor had in his pro boxing debut against the best ever in the boxing world of at least our generation, that's some shit. To go 10 rounds with Floyd, it is a statement. And having the success in the early rounds that he did is a statement in itself. Because Floyd, although Floyd may wanted him to come in hot and throw those heavy shots, there's no fucking way Floyd is like, all right, I'm going to let him uppercut me and just take it on the chin. That wasn't part of the plan. That was legit. And then the way Conor was working his jab and working off of his jab, I was impressed. He was boxing. He did turn it into a fight, but he was boxing. And he was boxing with the best boxer. So when you look at that, and you look at the fact that he fatigued in the later rounds, which the fatigue opened him up to getting clipped up. That's the only thing I take issue with Conor, is that he was saying, oh, I wasn't hurt. It was just fatigue. That's it. But the thing is, it was fatigue. Don't get it wrong. I 100% agree with that. But fatigue opened the door up for you to get hurt. Because you could just tell by how his head was snapping back on those shots. The way his head was snapping when he was getting clipped up, and the way he was backpedaling. Even if your legs are wobbly and you're backpedaling, there's a difference from when you get wobbled while backpedaling rather than backpedaling on wobbly legs. So he definitely got wobbled a few times. He was on the verge of getting knocked out. The first time this would have been the first time Conor McGregor ever got knocked out, and he didn't. So that was the best possible scenario. And for him to say, "Oh," I mean, he's saying what he should say, because he's even though he's on a loss, he's riding high on the rise in his stock, because now whatever he does next, he's gonna have a lot of eyes on him. Which I'm going to talk about what's next for Conor McGregor in a little bit. But before I get there, and before I get to where I want to get, I want to kind of put a bow on this, because I don't want people to think that, oh, I'm going to hit dislike, you're hating on Conor McGregor, and no. Full respect, Conor. Hats off to Conor. He did the damn thing. To step in there with no professional boxing bouts, with not a vastly decorated amateur career in boxing, but to be a decorated mixed martial artist and step into the boxing ring and do what he did against who he did it with, you can only applaud that. Because that was a very valiant effort. And, you know, the CompuStrike number said he landed, like 111 strikes in 10 rounds, and Canelo landed 114 in 12. That's saying some shit. You know, he landed more than Pacquiao did. So, respect to him, respect to what he did, respect to how he handled the loss, besides saying it was just fatigue. Because, I mean, like, keeping it real, he was rocking Conor. And Conor, although he was on the verge of getting dropped. I mean, I don't even think that's a disputable fact. And I don't think the stoppage was early. I think that was a safe stoppage. Although for a clean ending, I would have preferred for the ref to let it go, just to kind of avoid any excuses. But in boxing, they're kind of more looking out for your brain trauma. They're not, you see, finishes in boxing isn't like finishing as an MMA. You know what I mean? Like, you either have to be like borderline dead for them to stop it, or just you're getting your fucking shit beat out of you for them to stop it. In boxing, it's not really like that. In boxing, if it comes to a point where you're just getting completely outclassed and lit up, dude, corners throw in the towel, refs step in. You know, people quit on the stool. I don't even mean to say like quit on the stool like you're a quitter, but people end the fight between rounds. Vasily Lomachenko, I believe, his last fight, the opponent just quit on the stool, I believe, if memory serves me right. So, you know, the stoppages are a bit different in boxing. It kind of airs more on the side of, when you're losing a fight, we're going to stop it. You know what I mean? When you're like completely losing the fight, we're going to stop it. They're not going to let you be out and then completely can't do anything about it. And, you know, Floyd didn't get to land that devastating shot where Conor was like down, it took a knee, had a standing 8 count or whatever, 10 count, you know, get his counts, you know what I mean? Whatever it would have taken him. And he didn't, I think he would have maybe, you know, if the ref didn't step in, he maybe would have dropped to kind of get his breath back a little bit, you know, like not drop, like take a knee so he could get a little bit of a break, because in boxing, the pace is a little more relentless, and, you know, you can't really initiate a clinch to gather your energy, because in MMA, honestly, if you're completely like, all right, I need a breather, you could just hold someone up against the fence for like 30, 40, 60 seconds, or as long as you can, and just like, catch my breath quick, and then reset and then go. Now, you see, on the flip side of things, when it comes to Floyd, he comes out looking like a motherfucking boss. because Conor is a bona fide badass. Conor is, we know how ruthless of a game mixed martial arts is, and the degree of punishment that's taken and dished out. It's as real as it gets. Not even trying to be corny, but it's pretty much a clean street fight. And it doesn't get any more realer than that. You know what I mean? The only next step is like bar fighting to the death. That's the only way they could take it higher than mixed martial arts, is fucking bar fighting to the death with like bottles and shit like that and stools and all that. That's how crazy of a level you have to take it to get more intense than MMA. You know what I'm saying? So for Floyd to have a finish over Conor, and I'm gonna keep it real. I thought if Floyd was gonna get a finish, it was gonna be to the body, kind of like Ward Kovalev 2 stoppage. Not that like the controversy of was it low or not, but I thought it would have been those shots to the body that would have accumulated up, and then he would have been stopped because he got hit to the body. I didn't think he'd just be lighting Conor up and putting so much pressure on him that the ref was going to step in. Now, did this open up did this expose Conor a little bit? I don't know. And I don't think so. Because, Conor and his level of conditioning, he has good conditioning, don't get it wrong. And you could show that his conditioning improves because look at the jump from Nate Diaz 1 to 2. There is a huge jump in his conditioning. But there is a bit of a conditioning problem. He even said it himself. Now, if he goes up against a Tony Ferguson, who has a relentless pace, how's that going to turn out? But before I get to that, I didn't finish my point. Floyd finished Conor. So he looks like he finished a fighter. A true, they're all fighters. But when it comes to utilizing multiple martial arts and closest to the truest form of fighting, which is mixed martial arts, he beat that guy. Although it wasn't his arena, he didn't skate off on just being evasive, and he walked Conor down. It came a turning point where he was walking Conor down and lighting him up. So that looks good for Floyd. You know what I mean? And that kind of really justifies his whole laid back demeanor this whole time. And then the build up closer to the fight, where he was more stoic and just laid back, and like during the weigh-ins where he was just like kind of doing like that shoulder chuckle and the laugh and pointing at Conor. It kind of justifies that because he felt like, oh, he's so much above Conor, he's not even sweating it. And I thought he was underestimated. I thought there was a possibility that he would be underestimating Conor. And the fact that he came out and he was fighting and turned into a fight, and he just didn't outbox Conor, but he fought Conor. That says something to him as a fighter, because when you compare him to someone like a Mike Tyson or a Muhammad Ali, who are consensus GOATs in the sport, they were aggressive. Mike Tyson was motherfucking aggressive. Roy Jones Jr. had lots of finishes. You know what I mean? They were more offensive fighters. Although you need to have both, you could pull up a highlight reel of just them sleeping motherfuckers. So the fact that Floyd ended his career in coming forward, walk you down, light you up fashion, that puts his whole career in a different light. Because look how he went out, breaking Rocky Marciano's record, beating a true fighter, lighting his shit up in the end and just doing what he did, he rides off into the sunset. 300 plus M's in his bank account, deposited in, breaking all these records, legend. Now, Conor's stock goes up because Conor looked good. He didn't go in there. He didn't get his ass whooped. And he started getting lit up, kind of after the Mixed Martial Arts Championship time limit. He started getting lit up after the 25-minute mark. So, or maybe like around there. So, the fact is, Conor has a future in boxing. Now, how big of a future is it? To be honest, after seeing that, before I didn't know, because we didn't have anything to base it off of. So, a Canelo Conor, or a Triple G Conor, that's intriguing, which is still intriguing now. I would like to see those. And those are huge money fights. Because Canelo, he did 2.2 million in pay-per-views against fucking Chavez Jr. on Cinco de Mayo, and Chavez Jr. isn't even that big of a draw. But Canelo got that rub off of Floyd, and it turned him into a pay-per-view star. I think Conor got the biggest rub you could get. I think Conor's next pay-per-view breaks the all-time UFC record, and I think it's going to be the trilogy with Nate. I think that's what he's planning with next. He's been saying, I got a trilogy waiting, I got all these options. Dude, if I was Conor, I tell you exactly what I would do. I would do the trilogy bout with Nate. And now, dude, Conor's boxing has to be so fucking crisp for MMA. Because his MMA boxing was really good before. But now, after doing nothing but dedicating himself to boxing for a while, that shit will translate over. And it'll take some slight adjustments. But a lot of, not everything, but a lot of stuff is going to translate over. His striking is going to be a lot cleaner, a lot crisper, a lot more precise, especially because, the guard in MMA, not your ground guard, but, your high guard in MMA is a lot more open than boxing because of the size of the gloves. So you have 4 ounces. And that leaves a bigger opening to get in there. So with his precision, and he's always a very precise striker, that shit is it's gonna be good to see. It's gonna be enjoyable to see. Now, the trilogy bout with Nate Diaz already holds record. I mean, the 2 bouts with Nate Diaz already is up there in the biggest pay-per-views for UFC. This one will definitely break 2 million. I guarantee you the trilogy bout with Nate would break 2 million. If there was a bet, I'd even bet it. But, there's the interim belt looming, Ferguson Lee. It's not a necessity that someone has to unify. I mean, it is. Don't get me wrong. That's what the whole point of it is, that they have to unify. But when I say that, look at Robert Whittaker. I won't be surprised if they kind of line whoever wins between Ferguson and Lee, if they line their pockets a little bit to sit down for, say you need some time off. Just chill out for a bit. And then let us run this Nate Conor trilogy. And then you got the winner. You know what I mean? And whoever wins out of Nate and Conor, they become the money fighter. Because Conor's going to bring in... Look at the rub Nate got when he beat Conor. Nate became a fucking superstar after he beat Conor. And then the second fight, although Nate did phenomenal in it, and it is very debatable who won that fight, because Conor got the scorecard, and he won in the judges' eyes and a lot of fans' eyes, and then he went on, quick turnaround, got his second belt. He got his momentum back and he elevated it. And then now with this Floyd fight, it's like, it's kind of like he never slowed down. You know, although that Nate loss was a hiccup, his stardom didn't really get that affected coming out of it. And you know, Nate lost a little bit of the rub because we haven't seen him since his on record loss to Conor. Now the trilogy bout, whoever wins this is going to be the biggest star in the UFC. And if Nate wins, shout out the Scrap Pack, shout out Jamari. Fuck, man, Nate becomes king of the UFC. And I don't think that's something that the UFC wants. I mean, if you guys saw Nate's post on the gram, he was like a real thug. He posted a picture of him at the Floyd fight, and he was like, a real thug here. No thanks to the bitch ass UFC or some shit like that. So UFC didn't even give him tickets. Floyd got him tickets. So we know Nate and the UFC are at odds, and we already know Nate's kind of in the driver's seat outside of Conor with everything that's going on with Johnny. And I got some new information I'm going to do a video on about John, but which is interesting because it's very new piece of information that I heard, and you guys will see in the video. But yeah, with John gone now, or not gone, but we don't know what's good with the homie. And then who do you have? Ronda got head kicked and fucking annihilated into irrelevance, and she got married on Saturday. Congratulations to Ronda, by the way. Hope you and Travis Brown live a happy life. She's gone. Holly Holm, who got the rub off of Ronda, going through a bit of a rough patch. So with Cyborg's the next potential pay-per-view draw, but she's not that breakthrough mainstream star, because that takes if Cyborg looked like Gina Carano, she'd be the one. But I hate to say it, that's just how it is, man. I don't make the rules. That's just how the rules are. You need to be attractive to a certain degree to get certain opportunities like that. It's fucked up. That's how the world is. And Cyborg's not deemed that to the people who are in control and the powers that be, but she's so skilled, it's undeniable. So I don't know how far she could take it, but I don't even know her real pay-per-view numbers. I don't know anything solid to prove that she is a draw to that level. But you had Ronda, Conor, John. Two of them are gone. And then one of them catapulted to out of this atmosphere, biggest star in the history of the promotion. There is no person bigger. And he did it in a very short amount of time. Straight up, man. He did it in a very short amount of time. And now everything is in his court, because look at the year the UFC had so far. And it was coming off of 2016, which was an incredible year. And 2015 was an incredible year too. So they're coming off of two really hot years. But look at who was driving that. You know, although they had incredible fight cards all those years, like those past 2 years, Conor was really the breakthrough in that. You know, although they were doing well overall, Conor was really a big cherry on top. Now, you know, pay-per-views weren't doing that good this year. Not that many memorable giant fight cards. And then you had 214, which did well pay-per-view wise. Fucking stacked card. Came through on every level. And then we get hit with this bullshit, man. We get hit with this bullshit. I'm talking about John popping. So, you know, the peak of, all right, now we're getting back into it. That takes it away. Now, they still are going to have a lot of good fights coming up. And for us, the hardcore fans, we're going to love the second half of the year. But when it comes to the numbers and putting numbers on the board, there's only a few certain amount of players that could do that. And now there's only one who puts up the biggest numbers. So now I think Dana White, he fucking has to meet every demand Conor makes. If Conor walks away, if Conor retires, which he's fully in the position to do, it's going to hurt the UFC more than anyone. Now, we're going to see some ego battles because Conor has monopoly on this shit now. So, Dana kind of has to give him a stake. He has to pay him the purses he demands or get close to it. Get damn close to it because you really have no other option as of right now. I'm sure a star could emerge. But right now, your guy is Conor. And he could grow the sport in his next fight. You know, if it's the Nate Diaz trilogy bout, it will be the biggest fight in UFC history because you're bringing in all these casual fans. You're bringing in all these boxing fans who respect Conor now because of his performance. And he's just a fucking giant name. You know, he's the Floyd Mayweather of MMA. You know what I mean? Like and now it's solidified because he went in there and he shared the ring with Floyd. And that's some shit, my guy. Like, dude, he just has so much fucking power when it comes to negotiation and leverage. He has all the leverage in the world and he's coming off of a loss. Do you know how crazy that is? He proved a lot of people wrong, and the fact is that he did good, and it doesn't hurt his stock, really, that loss. Maybe if he got put on his back, twitching on the canvas, might have affected his stock a bit, but the stoppage of the fight really kept everything intact. It kept Conor's career intact. It kept the sport of boxing intact because Floyd won. And I don't agree with that, but that's just how boxing people are, man. A lot of boxing people, not everyone, but a lot of boxing pundits think mixed martial arts is savage and not in a good savage way. You know what I'm saying? Not like slang savage. Like, oh, they're savages. What are they doing? They might as well be knife fighting, and it's human cockfighting. And, you know, you have all that kind of mindset. And then, you know, they're like, oh, we're prestigious. We're the sweet science. We're the gentleman's sport. And they have like that kind of look at it. Like, oh, that's low. MMA is below us. It's demeaning. And so honestly, like a lot of pure boxing fans don't even watch MMA. You know what I mean? Like, I doubt Max Kellerman knows shit about mixed martial arts. I doubt it, man. He probably doesn't know shit about mixed martial arts. And now it opened that fan base up to respect it. Both worlds came together. You see, MMA always respected boxing. MMA never had any problem with boxing, from my experiences. You know, maybe they don't watch it, but there's a respect for it because boxing is integrated in MMA because it's part of it. Just how jiu-jitsu and kickboxing is part of it. You have to respect it because it's part of your sport. If you shit on it, you're shitting on pieces of your own sport. But boxing is so, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's like a lot of them are kind of like, well, I look down on you, like stuck up kind of fans. But, dude, fucking it happened. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy that it happened because, I mean, although it happened fast and, you know, we got the announcement, then the build up and then the fight, it's just kind of like now as the dust is settling, it's like, shit. That really just happened. Conor McGregor really fucking just fought Floyd Mayweather. And 4 months ago, people are like, that shit's impossible. With all the players in the mix, it's very unlikely. But it happened, man. So hats off to everyone. Respect to Conor. Respect to Floyd. Respect to Dana. Respect to Leonard Ellerbe. Just respect to all parties involved, Steven Espinoza, to make this happen. Now, like I said, I want the Nate Diaz bout next for Conor. It's going to break the pay-per-view record. Whoever wins that is the biggest star. But the thing is, it's a risk because Nate is very game and Nate very well could win that fight. You know, Conor's taking a big risk fighting Nate for the third time. And, I mean, dude, think about it, bro. At 155, the trilogy bout for the belt. Come on. You don't even need to advertise that. You don't even need to drop any marketing dollars. The shit sells itself. Now, when, let's say Conor wins, unify with Tony Ferguson. Although, don't get me wrong, I want to see that fight. I would love to see a Tony Ferguson Conor fight. I'd love to see that. You know, I rock with El Kukui. El Kukui's the motherfucking man. But that is a very dangerous fight for Conor. Just by Tony Ferguson's pace, man. And that motherfucker eats damage like Nate Diaz. That's a dangerous fight for him. And Tony Ferguson's a little more well spoken than Nate to really kind of twist the knife in after he beat him, and then kind of really, he might have the ability to make the fans seem like, oh, you guys are just riding a hype train, kind of. See, Nate's not really eloquent enough to word it for where people can really be, oh, you know, he's right. Maybe we were getting getting fooled. I'm not saying that's what it is, but how they present it to be. Tony could be like, you know the way Tony talks, man. So he could be like, oh, you guys are fucking idiots for rocking with McNugget, and he was never that skilled. He had all this push. I'm the real shit. Look at me. Look at my resume. I took all blah, 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 blah. And he could really kind of twist the knife after a victory. And a victory is very likely, to be honest with you. Ferguson McGregor. But the thing is, you know, Tony can get in trouble. He can get rocked in fights. I mean, look at the Lando fight. So, you know, Tony Ferguson could be rolling around the canvas. So that's a good fight. I definitely want to see that. So if you're asking me, man, trilogy bout with Nate, unify with Tony, and then box Malignaggi. Because this is what I would do. I would keep boxing going. Box Malignaggi. And then at that point, you could look at, all right, I'm going to go and get 3 belts. Because instead of unifying, bro, you could have the trilogy bout with Nate. Then he could go up and challenge Woodley to get the 3rd belt. That'd be on some like unprecedented GOAT shit. You know what I mean? Like 3 belts in 3 different divisions in the UFC virtually simultaneously. That'd be wild. But, you know, now he's opened up to big bucks because I am intrigued to see a Conor Canelo fight. I'm not lying to you. I am intrigued to see it, although I think Canelo would sleep Conor in boxing. I'm very intrigued in seeing that. Even Triple G. Conor versus the winner, that'd be very intriguing. And that would do big numbers and big bucks. The Malignaggi fight is doing $2 million guaranteed. That's already set up. Which I'd like to see too. I rock with Paulie. I like Paulie. That'd be a good fight to watch. That'd be probably a closer, more competitive fight. I'd watch that. But I kind of think Canelo and Triple G and boxing, dude, that's a little much. You're kind of really opening, a door to possibly getting like your shit fucked up at that point, because those guys are no joke when it comes to boxing. If you could entice them to come over here, that's a different story. to the mixed martial arts side, which I doubt. But, you know, a Canelo Conor fight, that'd be the next big thing. That's the next possible thing. With Floyd out now, Canelo Conor is the next biggest pay-per-view draw you could do. Straight up. Or Triple G Conor. Whoever. But more Canelo. Because Canelo is more of a draw than Triple G is. I'm not talking about skill. I'm just talking about numbers. But yeah, man, that's my quick thoughts on it. I don't even think that was that quick. But I'm definitely going to do more analytical videos later. I have the calls with the homie El Chapo from Ireland, as I said. We got to schedule that and get that out there. And then the homie Grand 3K, aka 3 Stacks, got to schedule that. And then, of course, Left Coast own, Scrap Packs own Jamari. So we're going to have that coming up. Yeah, man, and a whole bunch of shit. Check out some designs. Shout out to the All-American Chris Weidman again. You're the motherfucking man. I appreciate that. It was dope as shit to chop it up with him. It felt surreal, to be honest with you. Like, it's kind of crazy that like one of my favorite fighters I was just like with, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know some fighters too, but like this is like someone I was really, really a fan of. That is very high level, you know what I mean? So shout out to Chris, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for being so nice and everything. Even my parents got to meet him. So like, and he was like really nice to my parents. So definitely thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. And all you guys listening, as usual, you guys are the shit, and I appreciate each and every one of you. You already know it's Mastermind MMA.